we are moving to section B of this paper, that is drama. So this section consists of 3 plays. So let me discuss the first play, that is Caesar and Cleopatra by G.B. Shaw. So a short biography of G.B. Shaw. George Bernard Shaw was born on 26 July 1856. He was an Irish playwright and co-founder of the London School of Economics. His main talent was in drama and he wrote about more than 60 plays. He was also an essayist. Besides writing drama, he was also an essayist, novelist, and short story writer. So nearly all of his writings address prevailing social problems but have a weight of comedy which makes their stark themes more palatable. He was awarded both the Nobel Prize in Literature and the Oscar Award. So looking to some of his works, so Major Barbara, The Doctor's Dilemma, Pygmalion, Man and Superman, Antoclus and the Liar, and Saint John. So these are some or a few details about the dramatist. So coming to our play, Caesar and Cleopatra by G.B. Shaw was written in 1898. So this play depicts a fictionalized account of relationship between Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. So let's have an general idea about the play. The play has a prologue and an alternative to the prologue. The prologue consists of the Egyptian god Ra addressing the audience directly as if he could see them in the theater breaking the fourth wall. So he says that Pompey represents the old Rome and Caesar represents the new Rome. The gods favored Caesar because he lived a life they had given him boldly. So the god Ra recounts the conflict between Caesar and Pompey, their battle at Pharsalus, and Pompey's eventual assassination in Egypt at the hands of Lucius Septimius. In alternative to the prologue, the captain of Cleopatra's guard is warned that Caesar has landed and is invading Egypt. Cleopatra has been driven into Syria by her brother Ptolemy, with whom she is vying for the Egyptian throne. So the messenger warns that Caesar's conquest is inevitable and irresistible. A Nubian watchman flees to Cleopatra's palace and warns those inside that Caesar and his armies are less than an hour away. The gods, knowing of Caesar's weakness for women, plan to persuade him to proclaim Cleopatra to be the ruler of Egypt instead of Ptolemy. So they try to locate her, but they are told by Cleopatra's nurse that she has run away. So this is a general introduction to the play. So coming to the synopsis or about the play, the aging Julius Caesar meets teenage Cleopatra by chance one night under the Egyptian moon. There is the turmoil in Egypt, and the civil war has turned the nation into two as Cleopatra and her younger brother vie for the throne. Caesar does his best to help the young queen grow into a great ruler, one that favors wisdom, honor, and clemency as a means of governance. But as Egyptian insurgents besieged the palace at Alexandria, Caesar might not be able to keep the country together or even escape Alexandria alive, let alone the greater challenge of managing the headstrong Cleopatra. So the play explores the theme of power, politics, vengeance, and mercy. So this is a general introduction of the play in general and a general synopsis. So these are some of the themes that occur in the play. So you can read the play and have a general idea of this play. I hope you understood this class well. So thank you all. Students, we are moving to the next play, that is Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot. So a short biography of Eliot. T.S. Eliot, the greatest modernist English poet and playwright, was an American by birth and an Englishman by adoption. So he is well known for his most important work, that is the Wasteland. So he has penned some other works too. They are The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, The Wasteland, Journey of the Maggie, Four Quartets. So the play Murder in the Cathedral was written in the year 1935. The play was also published in the same year, that is 1935. So Murder in the Cathedral is considered to be a poetic drama in two parts with a prose sermon interlude. So the play was performed in Canterbury Cathedral in 1935. So let's have a discussion of the play. The play opens in the Archbishop's Hall on December 2nd, 1170. The chorus, comprising women from Canterbury, has gathered at the cathedral with some premonition of some terrible event to come. In a long speech, they reflect on how their lives are defined by suffering and reflect on their Archbishop Thomas Becket. So we could understand that Thomas Becket is the Archbishop of Canterbury. He has been in exile from England for 7 years after a terrible clash with King Henry II. The women worry that his return could make their lives more terrible. 3 priests enter the hall and also lament Thomas's absence and debate the ramification of his potential return. A herald arrives bringing the news that Thomas has indeed returned to England and will soon arrive in Canterbury. So the herald quashes their hopes that Thomas's return into Canterbury will make a reconciliation with Henry and confesses his own concern that violence is soon to follow the Archbishop's return. The chorus, listening to the priest, confesses their disappointment at his return which they believe will bring them more suffering. So they admit their lives are hard but predictable, and they would rather than for so rather than live through the turmoil of new political and spiritual upheaval. The second priest insults them and insists they fake happiness to welcome Thomas. However, Thomas enters during this exchange and stresses that the priest is mistaken to chide themselves. He stresses that all should submit to patience, since none can know God's plans and intention unless they submit to God. So a series of tempters enter, each attempting to promise Thomas's integrity. So the first tempter reminds Thomas of the libertine ways of his youth and tempts him to relinquish his responsibilities. The second tempter suggests that Thomas reclaim the temple of Chancellor, since he could do more good for the poor through a powerful political post. The third tempter posits a progressive form of government in which a ruler and barons work together as a coalition. The third tempter posits a progressive form of government. So I have already mentioned it above. So the fourth tempter enters and suggests the idea of martyrdom, which he notes would give Thomas greater dominance over his enemies. Thomas is shaken by this temptation. While he considers the dilemma, all of the characters except the herald gives a long address considering the uncertainty of life. When they finish, Thomas announces he will not see martyrdom from fame, instead will submit to God's will. So here part 1 ends. Between part 1 and part 2, Thomas preaches a sermon in an interlude in which he restates the lesson he learned at the end of part 1. The interlude is set in the Cathedral on Christmas morning 1170. In the sermon, Thomas considers the mystery of Christianity, which both mourns and celebrates the fact of Christ's death. He closes the sermon by admitting that he might not preach to this congregation again. The first scene of part 2 is set in the Archbishop's Hall on December 29th, 1170. The terrified chorus begins an address to which 4 boorish knights enters. Thomas is insulted and chided by the knights for what they perceive as disloyalty toward Henry. Thomas denies their interpretations of the readiness to die. So the knights attempt to attack him but are interrupted by the priest. So a more specific political argument follows. The knights threatens the priest with death if they let Becket escape. As the knights approach again, the priest begs Thomas to flee. So finally, the priest opens the door and the knights murder him. While Thomas has been murdered, the chorus gives a long, desperate address. So after the murder is done, the four knights address the audience directly. So at the end, the chorus gives the final speech. So here the play Murder in the Cathedral finishes. So let's have a quick look into the most important themes as well as the most important characters. So the important characters, the four tempters, the first tempter, the second tempter, the third tempter and the fourth tempter. The priest, the knight, Thomas Becket himself and King Henry II. So coming to a few important things, worldly power versus spiritual power, faith and sacrifice, temptation, so eternity and human understanding, loyalty and guilt. So these are the few important themes of this play. So I hope you understood this play well and enjoyed it. So thank you all. Students, we are moving to the last play in section B, that is Juno and the Peacock by Sean O'Casey. So a short biography of O'Casey. Sean O'Casey was baptized as John Casey, the youngest of 13 children. He was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1880. In his later years, he became the secretary of the Irish Citizen Army, drafting its constitution. His plays include The Plough and the Stars, preceded by Shadow of a Gunman, then Juno and the Peacock. So the leading writer of Ireland, W.B. Yeats, exclaims that, let me quote, "You have again rocked the cradle of genius," unquote. So O'Casey died in the year 1964. So this is all about his biography. So let's have a quick look about the play. So the play Juno and the Peacock is the second of O'Casey's what is known as Dublin trilogy. The first play of the trilogy, The Shadow of a Gunman, and the third, The Plough and the Stars. So set in the tumultuous year of 1916 and 1923. So the play was set in very tumultuous situation in Ireland. So coming to our play, Juno and the Peacock, the second of Sean O'Casey's Dublin plays, Juno and the Peacock, tells the story of the Boyle family in the grim slums of Dublin in the early 1920s. So Juno, the mother of family and the only member who works desperately, tries to hold her family together in the face of adversity and misfortune. However, her husband Jack Boyle would rather spend his time drinking with his persuasive pal Jocker. When Jack learns that the family is to come into an inheritance, he eagerly anticipates their new founded wealth and borrows money from everyone around him to flaunt their new incoming fortune. However, the news of the family's financial prosperity is short lived as it uh, it is it emerges that a law student, Charlie Bentham, has mistakenly drafted the will in such a way that all of Jack's cousins have a right to claim their share of the money, leaving very little left for the Boyle family. Then Bentham flees, leaving Juno's and Jack's daughter Mary pregnant with nowhere to turn, and the family is destitute once more. When the couple's son, Johnny, is dragged away and murdered by the Republican soldiers for betraying one of their own, the last nail in the family's coffin is also been sealed. Juno decides to leave her husband and seek a better life with her daughter Mary. Jack Boyle retreats into an alcoholic haze, blocking out the misery of his impoverished, lonely reality. So, coming to a few important characters, Juno Boyle, Jack Boyle, then Joxer Daly. So these are some of the important characters in this play. So I hope you understood this play altogether. So that's all about it.